Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to my commented chess games played by computer series. So in this series we follow the best chess games that are played by the top engines like Stockfish, AlphaZero, AlphaZero and many more. So this TCEC 17 has started, the second division is over, the top engine Fire 1, the second division is moving up into the first division, but the first division hasn't started yet. I'm really looking forward to watch the first division, then the Premier division. So before this first division starts, I wanted to show you great games played by top engines from the past, and today I decided to show you a great game played by the top engine AlphaZero against Stockfish in the Evans Gambit. The Evans Gambit is really one of the most tactical lines that you can play basically in chess. It was played already in the 19th century by masters like Wilhelm Steinitz, Paul Murphy, and really it was a famous opening in this romantic era in chess. And it's really funny to see sometimes these engines playing this gambit lines like the Evans Gambit or the King's Gambit. Their games are really attractive to watch, and this game that I wanted to show you today was also a great attacking brilliancy played by AlphaZero, I think, against another top engine, which is of course Stockfish, and Stockfish is also a great sort of calculator of tactical lines, and it was really great to see these two top engines battling in this really attractive opening. So let's see the game. We have e4 by AlphaZero, e5 by Stockfish, knight to f3, and now knight to c6. After bishop to c4, we have the Italian game, and after bishop to c5, we have b4, this Evans Gambit. And basically, you have to take this pawn because if you retreat, then white builds really a pawn central control with the preparation to play maybe something like c3, here c3, and then after that followed with d4. So you basically have to take, the best way is to proceed here to take out the pawn, and here AlphaZero played simply c3. We have bishop to a5. If you try bishop to e7, it's a little bit too passive because you're not challenging this very important diagonal. Then I think white can really proceed with the common move d4 here and grabs the center, gets a pawn central control with his two connected pawns with the pawn on d4 and e4. So that's why here bishop to a5 a really common move in the Evans Gambit, and now d4. And this is already very tricky. For instance, if you take e takes d4, then queen to b3 is the main line, I think, attacking this f7 weakness. Knight to h6 is not possible because of course we can take out first the knight and then take out this weak pawn on f7. In the continuation, black would try maybe something like f6, but then queen to f6, then bishop to g5 is very dangerous. You have to go with your queen to g6, and now I think even castling with the preparation then to play something like e5 is really dangerous. So still attacking possibilities for both sides. If we, for instance, take this pawn, then we can always recapture it with the knight. Giving up the bishop pair here after bishop takes c3 in an early stage of the game is really dangerous because this is an open game, and of course the bishops love the open game. So that's why giving up in an early stage of the bishop is not such a good idea, I think. In the game after the move d4, Stockfish tries to go into a calm line with the move d6, and here queen to b3, again attacking this pawn on f7, and here queen to d7 was played, not going on a dark square like e7 or f6, not allowing this very annoying attack on the queen. So here knight from b to d2 was played, and now AlphaZero has gained really a compact position in the center because after something like e takes d4, we can recapture with the pawn, and this knight is protecting this pawn, this knight is protecting this pawn. So basically we give up a pawn, but we are relying simply on our pawn central control, which is a very important strategical element in a chess game. Here bishop to b6 played by Stockfish with the preparation to play knight to f5, of fork and on the bishop and the queen, castling, and now knight to f5. So here queen to c2 was played, getting out of this attack. But if you, for instance, take here this bishop immediately, it seems like a good move because you got rid of the bishop pair. But after knight to c4, still after something like queen to c6, we can simply take out the bishop. After a takes b7, we can simply take another pawn, and here I think white has a favorable game because white has a better development, a better activity. Okay, you have to react here. Maybe bishop to g4 would be an idea to try at least maybe some doubling up situation, but still knight to d4 I think is very dangerous. Again, we can also recapture this pawn here on d6, so many possibilities. That's why I never recommend you to play this Evans Gambit. Basically it has too many sidelines. If you just make a slightly inaccuracy, you may get crushed by your opponent. So okay, it's just your choice. You can try it out, of course, but you have to be tactically prepared. Here after the move queen to c2, not knight to c4 was played here. Stockfish tried e takes d4, and here c takes d4. Again, we have a similar position in which white has built up this pawn central control, which is a very important strategical element. As I said, we're restricting these 4 central squares for the minor pieces, so no minor piece can jump on that very important square, so it's a little bit these pieces are a little bit pushed away. In the game, knight to e7, trying to finally secure the king, and now rook to e1. One of the ideas in open center position and in dynamic positions is to keep your pieces compact. It means they simply have to be glued together. It meets with the idea, and it meets with the idea of a very important chess principle in chess, which says that you should activate your last active piece that hasn't played so far. So far the rook hasn't played, so it's a very common thing in chess to activate that last piece. So castling here bishop to f1. It seems like a strange move, but it's really a great improvement of the position, because now this bishop stays on a very active diagonal, but has a flexibility maybe with some moves like g3 and bishop to g2 to go on another diagonal, get a better activity. Here the bishop on c4 still is in danger to be taken out here by the knight, so that's why here AlphaZero decided to stay with the bishop pair on the board. Queen to d8 was played, also an improvement of the position of this bishop, because now the bishop can get out. Bishop to a3 with some possibilities to create some tactics, maybe with the move e5, getting use of this very annoying dark square diagonal, and now knight to g6, simply getting out of the star squares. Here we have d5, closing the position in the center, getting some space, because now we have a pawn which is on the 5th rank. Now we have this space advantage in the game, of course, and there is one problem. c6 is always dangerous. You'll see in the couple of moves that Stockfish will try the c6 idea in order to break this pawn central control that white has built here, but still then you're continuing the game, of course, with this d6 weakness, and this would be an object of white's attack, of course. So in the game, rook to e8 was played, again also improving the position of the rook, again with the same idea, playing with the last piece that hasn't played so far, and now bishop to b4, attacking the knight. Of course, the idea is maybe to take out the knight and then play on this c7 weakness, because by giving up a pawn in an early stage of the game, there is always the possibility to create attacks through diagonals, through files. So now rook to c1, again maybe aiming against this c7 pawn. So in the game, rook to b8 was played, and now rook from a to d1, again keeping this compact position, and now finally c6. Taking out the knight immediately seems like a good move, but it's not such a powerful position, I think, for white, because after bishop takes a5, you can take the pawn. After d takes c6, b takes c6, queen takes c6. But still, now we have a simplified position in which we have an open position, and the bishops are simply better in open positions, and you still are proceeding without the space control that you have created with this move d5. So that's why taking out here this knight on a5, I don't think it's such a good idea. Still, black has the possibility to activate another bishop. Now there is the serious threat to take out the knight on f3. You have to recapture with the pawn, because this bishop is creating this very dangerous spin. So I don't think that you should go into this particular line. So that's why here in the game, after c6, queen to b2 was played, not to take out the knight, not to take out the pawn. After that, simply improving the position of the knight, maybe trying to get here bishop to c3 and a very dangerous attacks on dark squares. So in the game, c5 was played, bishop to c3, and now f6, closing the dark square diagonal, trying also to get this knight to e5, creating sort of a blocking system, which is a very important thing now for black to simply get a restriction of this very well placed bishop on c3. This battery is really dangerous, and this is the main uh, attacking element that AlphaZero has built here, this dark square diagonal. Still, you see this bishop has a good activity on this diagonal, with the preparation maybe to play something like bishop to b5. In the game a4, played by AlphaZero, and I've talked about this move now for a couple of minutes when I analyze the game. What's the idea behind this move? It's not doing anything. Well, when I talked about it more, I realized that this knight is, of course, a bad piece. You don't want to have your knight on the edge of the board. So in some variations, you have to move the knight somewhere. For instance, like bishop to c7, b6, knight to b7. Maybe try to get your knight on d8. Then after that, maybe here on f7. Maybe again here on e5. So this would be sort of a path of the knight with which you could maybe improve the position of the knight. But when you do that after the move b6, at least you want to have this pawn, which is advanced now, and maybe try to crack the position with a minority attack by playing the move a5. This would be sort of an attacking idea, because still there is this very annoying pin by the queen on the rook. So if the position opens, there are maybe some discovered attack possibilities, because the rooks are not connected, which is also a very important strategical element in the chess game. You should somehow connect your rooks. On the other hand, you see white's rooks are connected. So I've talked about this move really for a couple of minutes, and this was, I think, a great positional move. Here after bishop to c7, we have queen to a2, maybe trying to get a rook now on the b file, also creating some dangerous attacks on b7. Rook to e7 was played, and now h3. Also preventing idea, not allowing this bishop to go on a very active square on g4. But again, if black tries that, you can still get kicked away. So bishop to d7, and now rook to a1. We have king to h8, and now knight to h2. This is now maybe white preparation to play something like g3, because this bishop is of course protecting this h3, and then after that maybe f4, getting a really pawn majority attack here, because white has the advantage here on the king side. We have a 4 pawn versus 3 pawn situation, so this could be an object where we should attack. Here f4, maybe with the preparation, if the position allows it, then to crack the position with the move e5. And in the game, bishop to b6 was played. You see, Stockfish simply tried to repeat the moves, waiting a little bit, trying to see what AlphaZero will do in this game. And now rook to b1, again, also an improvement of the position of the rook, but still with no clear ideas how to attack. Basically, both sides are waiting for mistakes. Here king to g8, and now knight to f3. Strange moves here by these two top engines, simply repeating moves. And in the game, bishop to e8 was played. Here Stockfish tried to improve the position of the bishop, maybe get it to this diagonal and then attacking the queen. But now here AlphaZero is not allowing this bishop to go on a very active square, is trying here to attack this weak b7 pawn. So that's why here we have first king to h2, after bishop to c7, now rook to b2, with the preparation to play something like rook to b1, and then finally attacking this pawn, maybe take out this knight, which is the defender of the b7. Rook to a8, here we have rook to a1, bishop to d7. You see the bishop has to retreat again, because this is a weak square in black's camp here. Queen to b1, and now bishop to c8. Again, retreating with the bishop, but these are really passive moves. It allows now AlphaZero to play much more active after knight to g1, again with the preparation to play the move f4, for instance, with the preparation, of course, g3, f4. This would be the main tactical idea. Queen to f8, and now knight to e2. Here we have f5. Now the position gets really opened with this move f5. This is a risky move, I think, by Stockfish. Maybe Stockfish should have proceeded here with b6, knight to b7, as I said, maybe improving the position of the knight, trying to wait a little bit. But this f5 move finally cracks the position, and now we have really a tactical position for both sides. So knight to g3, which is a provocative move here by by AlphaZero, really forcing black to decide what to do now. If you, for instance, take f takes e4, then we can recapture with this deep d knight here on d file. Knight takes e4 can be played. The knights are connected. This pawn on f2 is protected, and still we have a very important open diagonal here, aiming on this g7 square. There are also possibilities, of course, knight to h5, knight to f5 if the position allows it. Still, we have some improvements of the position here. Knight to g5 is the possibility. Maybe then something like knight to e6. This would be also weak square in black's position. But in the game, after knight to g3, f4 was played, and this seems like a dangerous attack, but this was really a provocative move by AlphaZero, forcing Stockfish to do such a move. Here, after knight to f5, we have bishop takes f5, e takes f5, and the pawn is protected. But now, after bishop to d3, we will have a perfect two diagonals here for the bishops. Here the light square diagonal and also the dark square diagonal. So it's a great position for the bishop. If we evaluate these two pieces, the bishop on c7 is too passive, and the knight on a5 is also not such a good piece on the board. This knight is attacked, so you have to play knight to e5 in order to get some kind of activity with at least with one of your minor pieces. Here knight to f3. If you, for instance, take knight takes f3, it seems like a good move because you're doubling up pawns. But now after g takes f3, there is again this problem. We could try something like bishop to d3 and somehow get our rook on the g file, and this would be the main target in black's position here, this weak pawn on g7. So taking out the knight on f3, I don't think it's a good idea here for black. So that's why after the move knight to f3, a risky move was played by Stockfish, queen to f6. Getting in front of this dark square bishop, I think, is really dangerous. Of course, there is this tactical threat to take out the knight. Knight takes f3 with the check and then take out the bishop. So that's why here AlphaZero played queen to c2. We have b6. Finally, this move b6, which I've waited now for many times here, because now the knight really needs some kind of a path, some kind of improvement. This knight is bad, but by this move, with this move b6, you're still blocking out your dark square bishop. Basically, this bishop is like a pawn here. It's blocked out by its own pawns. It's like you have another pawn on the board. This bishop is not participating in the attack at all. It's too passive, and here white pieces are much more active. It's a great compensation for this extra pawn. Here rook to e1 was played, rook to f8, finally getting this rooks and the queen connected. Queen to d1, we have rook to d7, and now bishop to b5, attacking the rook, not allowing this rook to play active. Rook to d8 was played, and now rook to c2. We have finally queen takes f5, but now rook to e2. Now we have created a perfect battery. Again, we are waiting black simply to take out the knight. We don't care if we would have this double pawn situation. As I said, the g file is a very important file now on the board, because as I said, the bishop is too far away. You cannot participate with the bishop in order to attack here this g7 weakness. Knight to b7, we have bishop to a6, again not allowing this knight to jump on the board, not allowing this knight to improve the position. Again, knight to a5 has to be played, and now here rook to e4, very important move. It's an improvement of the position. We're moving up some more ranks, and now again with an object of the attack, and it's of course this f4 pawn. Queen to f6, again getting the queen on a very dangerous diagonal. Here bishop to b5, again knight to b6 was played, but now bishop to c4. Not playing on the same idea, of course, to play bishop to a6. Now this bishop is really aiming indirectly against black's king, so if the position allows it, if this pawn gets mobile, then we could have some discovered attack possibilities. Of course, so far you cannot take out the bishop because of this very annoying pin by the bishop on the queen. So knight to a5, again a repeating move, and now bishop to a2, simply staying on this very nice diagonal. King to h8, and now bishop to b1. Very cool move by AlphaZero. Now there are some tactical threats, of course, moves like queen to c2, and maybe discoverly opening the light square diagonal and trying checkmate threats here on h7. So see how these bishops are working very well together. They're really dangerous. I'm not seeing a clear way how to defend here from black's perspective. Rook to e8 was played, and now king to g1, simply improving the position of the king. We have king to g8, getting out of this light square mess, and now h4. Again, a great move by AlphaZero, because when you play chess, you want to see always what pieces are on good squares, what pieces are not on good squares. So if we evaluate the position, the bishops are perfectly fine, the queen is perfectly fine, the rooks are perfectly fine, creating this battery. So the only piece that's bad, it's basically this knight on f3. So this knight needs improvement. So that's why this h4 move is a great move in order to here improve the position of the knight with the square g5. Of course, h6 seems like a natural move, but again, you don't want to move more pawns in front of the king, because, as I said, these bishops are really dangerous. So weakening the pawn structure, again, it's not such a good idea. Here c4 was played by Stockfish, and now knight to g5 finally. Now, of course, the idea is to jump with the knight here on this very active square e6, and basically this square is unprotectable. You don't have a light square bishop in order to protect the square, so it's a great position, and it's basically game over here for black, because here after g6 we have this move knight to e6, and now Stockfish simply decided to give up the rook for the exchange. This knight was really annoying. After rook takes e6, we have, of course, d takes e6, queen takes e6, and now you can pause the video and try to find again the best next move. You want to get use again of your pieces. Again, try to see which piece needs improvement, which pieces are good, which pieces are not good. So here in this position, again, if we evaluate, the queen is of course on the starting square, but it's not a problem. The queen is always a long range piece. We can always improve the position of the queen very easily. The rooks are on very nice battery. Again, this bishop is on c3, is perfectly fine. So now AlphaZero plays the move bishop to a2. Now we have an improvement of the position, again aiming against this weak c4 pawn. So of course you would love to play something like d5, but it's not possible because your knight on e5 is hanging. So that's why here king to e2, but g2, pardon me. But you get again in front of this bishop. So you see how endangered this king is here. These bishops are really aiming against black's king. Again, pointing out this bishop is like a pawn here, and in the game queen to e2 was played. Here we have rook to f6, but now finally bishop takes c4. Now the position is really opened. After knight takes c4, we have queen takes c4. You cannot take, of course, with the knight, but you have to, because here there are some tactical threats. Here after queen takes c4, we have rook takes c4, knight takes c4, but now rook to e7. Great tactics here by AlphaZero. You cannot cover with the rook, that's the main problem. Here king to f8 was played, but now of course bishop takes f6. Here bishop to d8 was played by Stockfish, trying to grab at least one piece here, but now counterattack. We have rook to e4, knight to d2 was played, but now simply rook takes f4, and it's basically game over, because you have to trade off the bishops or continue the game with a bad piece. Here bishop takes f6 was played, rook takes f6, king to e7, attacking the rook, but not a problem. Still we have this very nice square for the rook to f4, and if we evaluate the position, okay, black has an extra pawn, but it's not such a problem. I think this is a completely winning endgame. Let's see the continuation. Knight to b3. Here we have king to f1, improving the position of the king. Knight to c5, and now of course simply trying to get this position opened for the rook. Here h5, a5 was played. Now we have king to e2, knight to e6, but not a problem. Here we can always use another file for the rook to c4, knight to c5 again, and now simply again improving the position of the king. King to e3, king to e6, rook to g4, attacking this weak pawn. Here king to f7 had to be played, but now simply rook to d4, again attacking another weakness. King to e6, and here simply h6, closing the position. Now there is this serious threat if we, of course, somehow infiltrate with a rook here and try to grab this pawn, then it's completely winning endgame again. So king to e7 was played, here f4, trying to get here some kind of a pass pawn, knight to e6, here we have rook to d2, knight to c5. You see Stockfish is trying to repeat moves to get some kind of a draw here, but not a problem. Rook to a2, protecting his pawn. Here we have knight to d7, rook to b2, king to f6, and now after rook to b5 in this position, here Stockfish resigned. Knight to c5 is not a possibility anymore because you simply rook takes b6, and this is sort of a Zugzwang position in which black has to do something, but basically they are not good moves. You cannot go with your king on the 5th rank. You have to play something with your king, but now this king can play much more active with king to d4, king to d5, again g5, g4, f5 is the possibility to create here some kind of a pass pawn, and it's of course game over here for Stockfish. So great Evans Gambit. I think it was really a tactical opening in the beginning, but then it went into a positional line in which black had some problems with his pieces on the board. Stockfish didn't find good squares, good diagonals for the bishops. The bishop was simply kicked out. This bishop on c7 was really like a pawn. AlphaZero used these diagonals very nice, I think, and won the game in a very cool fashion. So okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. We'll follow this TCEC season 17 when it starts again with this premier, with this first division, and then we'll have the Premier Division, and then after that the super final, in which I think again we'll have the super final between Lila C0 and Stockfish. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games played by computers with some more games from the top engines, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.